Hello and welcome to The Big Fight, where this week we're going to be taking a look at the lessons of Pathankot. And even as I say that, I have to say I'm struck by a certain sense of deja vu, because how many times and for how many years have we been talking about the lessons of what happened in Delhi, the lessons of Mumbai, the lessons of Pathankot now. What are the lessons and what eventually are we going to end up doing? And a couple of related questions, not just what we can do to take on terror, but also let's try and see if we can arrive at some sort of a framework of how to handle Pakistan, because sometimes the policy seems to go back and forth. Should you call off talks? Should you continue talks? Should there be a policy of holding Pakistan responsible for any and all terror attacks, or should there not be such a policy? So we've assembled a lot of thinkers to try and step back a little bit from all the heat and dust that we've seen all week long, to try and see if we can come up with some sensible suggestions for what policy actually should be. And joining us right here in the studio, Nalin Kohli of the BJP, Manish Tiwari of the Congress Party, both of whom were sometimes saying exactly opposite things when different governments were in power. So, you know, it'll be good to see if we can arrive at some sort of a consensus. Colonel Ajay Shukla, defense analyst, is joining us. Lieutenant General Shankar Prasad, another defense analyst who's really done a lot of work in this entire area. It's a pleasure to have you with us, and indeed former Ambassador Leela Panappa, former Deputy NSA. Thank you, ma'am, so much. It's such a pleasure to have you joining us. And joining us from Karachi is Air Vice Marshal Dr. M. Abid Rao, who's retired Air Vice Marshal of the Pakistani Air Force. Well, thank you all so much for being with us. I said lessons of Pathankot, and before I come to the Pakistan question in particular, are there any lessons that we should have taken earlier that have still not been internalized? And why don't I go in reverse direction, starting with you, ma'am?
I think every such attack is unique in itself, and yet there are certain broader conclusions and lessons that one can draw from them. Clearly, it was a serious attack on a frontier military installation. If it had been a missile, it would have been treated as an act of war, whereas it was a bunch of terrorists who took 3+ days to be traced, and there are still questions. So the need for very specifically designed security arrangements and the movement of intelligence and the use of intelligence, I think, needs to be looked at. That's one. So the facts have to be ascertained in order to derive the lessons and the conclusions. There is a need for the equivalent of a Kargil type review committee.
We'll never be able to prevent a terror attack. You know, there will be always terrorists who'll get through. But some of the things that we've often spoken about, should there be better coordination? What is the standard operating procedure? If something happens to an army base, should it be the army who goes in or the NSG?
So that comes to my next point, that there are institutional mechanisms. They have been thought out. Obviously, each experience advances the learning curve, and these institutions have to be made to function, which according to the information available in the public domain, it's not clear at all.
Okay, before I come to the rest of it, let me just get a sense from across the border in Pakistan. Air Vice Marshal Abid Rao, we were just hearing former Ambassador Panappa saying that in a sense, if a missile had actually come across the border instead of a bunch of terrorists, this would actually be considered an act of war.
That's very true. Missile attack is something very serious. You see, on the LOC along the border, the infiltration is not something new that has happened. It is on since 1947, the creation of the country. It has been going up or down. Now the question is, Pakistan has also very different views.
It always happens that whenever there's some progress towards peace, if it is Agra, it will be followed by an attack. If it's a Lahore visit, followed by Kargil. If Prime Minister Modi has dropped by there, it will be followed by both by Pathankot.
Please listen to my whole. Listen to my whole response. You see, the way the thing was handled by Indian security agencies, intelligence agencies, the reaction to handle an event like this has left a lot of questions even in Pakistani's mind. That in an extreme opinion, is that an Indian plant itself? To make an excuse and get hold of Mr. Maulana Masood Azhar or somebody like that.
You're saying it's an Indian plant. It's an Indian plant. It's an Indian plant to get 6 terrorists across from Pakistan who can then come in and shoot 7 Indian soldiers.
These terrorists,
to have an excuse
there are a lot of
to
these
go
prisoners with you
people
in
against
India,
whom there's enough evidence
from
in the last
Kashmir,
10 years.
From so many other areas who have been used in past, who can be used in future. And you see, Unless
if you would
the
pardon me,
evidence
Vice Marshal,
provided-
we were actually wanting a, let's try and have a straightforward discussion based in realities and not in fiction.
As I said earlier, this is an extreme opinion, but the conspiracy theories also stay
all right, so let's
in
come to a more rational,
valid till something solid happens.
Come to a more
now the
rational
evidence given by Indian government to Pakistan government is being examined at all levels. Let's come to that. Let's come to that.
I agree with you. Now let's look at the more rational. Let's look at the more rational explanation.
Yes. Now
hang on, let me finish what I'm saying. So you came up with one possible theory, which I'm saying will stretch the credulity or the imagination just about anybody. And I'm not saying necessarily it's a Pakistani state which did it in this case, or the Pakistani government, or even the Pakistani army. But it is certainly a fact that whether it's the Jaish-e-Mohammed or the Lashkar-e-Toiba or the Jamaat-ul-Dawa, there are still vast arrays of terrorist groups in Pakistan who have still not been shut down. And I think one of the lessons that need to be derived across the border there in Pakistan is that at the end of the day, while these people are allowed to flourish, sooner or later, somebody will go across the border and do something which is going to mean an end to the peace process.
These people are not roaming around with any such freedom or liberty to do whatever they have been doing in the past.
Really? Where's Hafiz Saeed today?
Where's Hafiz Saeed today? The question is, have they done it this time?
Oh, so
he is restricted to wherever he is.
We should be happy that Hafiz Saeed wasn't the guy who did it this time. It was Masood Azhar who did it. I'm saying, why are these guys allowed to be running around out there in the open in the first place? Why, if General Raheel Sharif is serious, and let's give him the benefit of the doubt that he's serious when he says that 2016 Pakistan will be terror-free. Fine, that's great. It's good to hear that. But the logical corollary of that is that all terrorists should be put away. Not, well, these are the sort of terrorists who will be causing havoc in Pakistan, so let's leave them, let's go after them. But Masood Azhar, he's going to be basically attacking India, so that's fine. Let's leave him alone. Doesn't work anymore.
All Jaish-like organizations, all Lashkars are under the spotlight now. The funding has been checked. A lot of madrasas have been banned, they've been closed, shut down.
Good
Yesterday, I mean, there was this...
good to hear that, if that actually happening. Okay, so let me throw that. Now we're getting somewhere. He said that this time it's actually happening. Do you accept what he's saying?
Well, it's a great thing to hear from him. But let's please understand that these people may be under some kind of control of the Pakistan government, ISI, or the military. And that control also means that they will maneuver them to do what they want them to do. So while they may not be roaming around freely, which is perhaps what he says, and I'll take it for that, but they're very much within the control of the ISI and the military to orchestrate what they want them to do. And all the evidence that's available to us on Pathankot clearly indicates that this terrorism came from across the border, and nobody can cross the border. 6 people cannot cross the border unless the rangers over there assist them, unless the Pakistan military who's manning general area there can assist them. And also, they have been trained, they've got weaponry which cannot be created overnight by some unprofessionals. It is a very professional effort. There's a tremendous training. There is rehearsal.
You are discounting the theory of, this is an Indian plant, like...
No, Indian plant is something
like 9/11 was the American zone.
Indian plant is something like quite berserk, if I may put it. I mean, sorry for saying that to the Air Marshal, but nevertheless, his point is that they are being reined in. Yes, they're being reined in to do something what they want them to do. Right. And that's exactly the point we're trying to make, that it is the military, it's the ISI who continue to do these activities, and here is a resource available which is willing to do it nicely for them.
Air Vice Marshal Rao, so when will this lesson be learned, that sooner or later this strategy, which has been tried now for I don't know how many, 2 decades, 2.5 decades, it's got an end date. It cannot be carried on forever.
Now let's look at the Indian role in making these terrorists successful. I mean, yesterday your government announced that after some good action is taken against these terrorists, only then the talks will continue. So these terrorists have succeeded. The more mature approach would have been...
Point. Hang on. I'm going to come to that point. I think it's an interesting... what you're saying is an interesting point, that yes, should the terrorists be allowed to get away with what they came to do, which is disrupt talk? Valid point, and we were going to discuss it. We are going to discuss it.
I really don't know what will satisfy Indian media, that the government of Pakistan is very serious about it. The whole Pakistan nation is very serious about it.
One sec. It's not about satisfying the Indian media. We are not, we shouldn't be judge, jury, and executioner.
The government has so far been
I'm asking you a simple question. The basic point which the Lieutenant General Shankar Prasad was also saying is surely the Pakistan establishment needs to also come and do some introspection. Maybe they're not, you're saying they're not entirely in the control and their efforts being made to rein them in. I'm saying you need to step up those efforts. You need to find Masood Azhar, lock him up, lock up Hafiz Saeed, find ways of proceeding against them.
You see,
track down the numbers.
We all know the numbers
that these guys are calling.
Will you do that?
That
is number one.
Find those guys,
are known.
arrest them, do something.
The handlers are well known. Why can't we get after the handlers?
You know who the handlers are. We knew who the handlers were at the time of the Mumbai attacks. We know who the handlers were. Do something about them.
No. Let's see how does the investigation continue. Let's not jump before the bridge comes. And I am very sure the government and the army will do something so positive that, because you see, these terrorists, we are also fed up in a way that non-state actors bring so much of embarrassment to the country that the peace doesn't return to the region. Okay. See what is happening in the Middle East, in our neighborhood.
I'm glad, I hope that recognition is coming in, that at least...
It is absolutely, it is there.
Right, but then I'm again asking you to do something about it.
But you
Why
are not...
do something about it? They're your non-state actors.
But I'm suggesting that Indians should also cooperate in the manner without any provocative allegations, without any false allegations. This thing should move in a very mature way. Okay. If both Prime Ministers agree that we need peace, it should go that way. Both the teams must go in the same
Can I ask the rest of you? Can I ask the rest of you, before coming to the broader point as to whether talks with Pakistan should continue or not continue and whether the terrorists will succeed, the limited point about lessons that we should have learned. First, what lessons that Pakistan should be learning from this?
So the most encouraging thing that the Air Commodore said is that Pakistan is coming around to arresting these terrorists.
About now, we would time, really... It's been 30 years.
We would really like to believe it. But what are the facts? The facts are that in 2002, early, with the Indian army poised on the border of Pakistan after the parliament attacks, Musharraf gave a speech outlawing the Markaz Dawa wal Irshad, which is later on became the Jamaat-ud-Dawa, outlawing the Jaish-e-Mohammed, and saying that these terrorist groups which are directed against India would be reined in. From then till now, it's been 13 years.
I'll give you the more specific ones. 10th of December 2008, Yusuf Gilani assures India that action will be taken against all those using Pakistan for terrorism. September 2013, Nawaz Sharif assures Manmohan Singh. 22nd October, Nawaz Sharif promises action. 5th of January 2016, Nawaz Sharif. I mean, I can put up a list which will go on 10.
Which brings me to yet another lesson that I think we need to learn, which is that India needs to make its assessments based on very objective facts and derive these conclusions with regard to the realities of Pakistan instead of having unrealistic expectations.
What are the unrealistic expectations? That the state has control over these people or that the state will act against them?
No, the unrealistic expectations are that peace will break out if there is bonhomie at a personal level, that Pakistan's assurances are to be taken on board, and that therefore we will make progress in terms of deriving satisfaction, not just with regard to the Indian media, as the Air Marshal said, but to the people of India. I think the history of Pakistan, as you yourself have spelt out, Vikram, and as Ajay mentioned, indicates that India needs to have a realistic sense and no illusions about what or how Pakistan behaves.
There should not be the politicization of terror by and large, but obviously it will strike people. Some of the comments that Mr. Modi himself was making after earlier attack, he said, stop writing love letters to Pakistan. Pakistan should be paid back in the same coin. They should be given a befitting reply. So, this has been the stance that the BJP was taking and Mr. Modi was taking at a particular point in time. Now the Congress is again questioning flip-flops. So we need at some point a strategy and a policy that will work, irrespective of whether it's a BJP in power, the Congress in power, or some other party in power.
Well, broadly, you're saying that there is no strategy. I refuse to believe that.
There has been a cohesive strategy all this time.
Maybe that strategy...
By anybody.
No, why? I would not agree with that. I think we need to go back on facts. That Pakistan and India have a troubled relationship is real from 1947 onwards. I mean, we constantly keep looking at this and we have this, in my opinion, absolutely an unrealistic expectation. Oh, one meeting has taken place or something has taken place, everything is going to be hunky-dory. The second point is that everyone believes the minute you talk of talks, everything else that needs to be done to basically make yourself deal with this situation with Pakistan over the last 7 decades has been forgotten. Talks don't mean that. Talks are one part of the entire story. And in this particular case, What do you talk of flip-flops? Yes, every government tries. There's no doubt about it. Yeah. Even if there has been war, there has been a talk after that. But does that mean that the government has stopped learning its lessons, or the government has given up all the options it has?
I'm trying to figure out the lessons.
Well, first of all, on Pathankot, I think it's premature to even ask the question that what are the lessons learned. Mumbai had a series of lessons. Those lessons, and some of them are translated.
You can question whether the lessons of Mumbai were learned effectively or not.
Vikram, see, I'm not...
Should you have an anti-terror operation? Should there be a standard operating procedure? If an army base is attacked, should it be the army who goes in? Should it be the NST who goes in? What role should Garud commandos be playing if it's an Air Force base? See, all of this is stuff that you can work out in peacetime without waiting for a terror attack.
Vikram, the best lesson learned, if I may, the best lesson learned was after Kargil, when there was a high-level review committee chaired by Mr. K. Subramaniam, which went into all aspects of it. Mumbai never had that kind of inquiry. It was a state-level inquiry, and I believe comprehensive information was not supplied. Some yes, some no.
Air Vice Marshal Rao, it was a gesture that Narendra Modi made by stopping off in Lahore, just as Mr. Vajpayee had made a gesture by coming to Lahore a long time back. At the end of the day, it's all very well for you to say, well, you know, the terrorists shouldn't succeed in allowing talks or the dialogue process to be disrupted. But do you think that Pakistan is also feeling now that maybe something more concrete than that is required?
Definitely. Vikram, I feel that the talks must continue. That is one response to all terrorists, whether they are based in Pakistan, in Afghanistan, or India, or whatever tentacles they have in the three places. You see, there are these people who want to derail these talks, and if the two governments succumb to that pressure and give in, even partially, I think it is their success. The process gets delayed, derailed, and maybe our ground zero has to restart. So, well, let's see. I will be too happy that if the evidence given is real and if the culprits are in connection of that, I'm sure the government of Pakistan will come with an iron hand on that.
There is a deadline of some sort in this case. So, you know, it's not an open-ended thing. So, you don't have that much time to actually say, yes, we will take action.
Yes. I think the government is very serious. The people are now behind the government. Okay. Because this tension, these wars and war-like situations have served no purpose for India or Pakistan.
All right. All right, Marshal. Thanks so much for joining us. Well, let's just get a sense of civil society also in Pakistan as to what the feeling is. Meher Tarar now joining us from Pakistan. Meher, you heard what was being said, and obviously every time there is a movement forward in peace, whenever a terror attack happens, there are very justifiable questions that are asked this side of the border as to how these terrorist organizations are being allowed to flourish.
Firstly, I would like to offer my condolences for the 7 people who died in this terror attack. I think it's very unfortunate, something that Pakistan sees over and over again, and I don't think we seem to have learned any lessons from that either. Yes, Pakistan needs to be very firm about what it's doing, and Pakistan needs to show the world that it means what it's trying to do within Pakistan and outside Pakistan. The primary thing in that aspect would be to stop compartmentalizing terror.
Not that long back, it was very clear that for Pakistan, they are good terrorists and they are bad terrorists. Any terrorist who's attacking India is a good terrorist. Terrorists who are creating mayhem in Peshawar or those areas is a bad terrorist. Is there any sign that that policy is being changed now?
Honestly speaking, I mean, if I deny that Pakistan has never been radicalized against India, that would be a lie. I don't know what happens in India, but as far as Pakistanis are concerned, they have this perception of India being the enemy. This is how it has always been, and this is how it is even now for a large number of people. Yes, finally Pakistanis have realized that no matter what the justification is, no matter what the pretext is, no matter how holy jihad in Kashmir was once upon a time, there is no justification for engaging in a proxy war in another country, be it Afghanistan or India. After the incredible destruction that Pakistan has seen in the last few years, and more than 50,000 people have been killed in Pakistan, I think there is a realization now that an act of terror is an act of terror. No ifs and buts about it. But of course, as far as the government is concerned, it needs to show the people that it actually means what it says. Okay, it cannot just be that, okay, we are going to end terrorism, but then, you know, Pakistan-centric terrorists will go, and the other groups will go on doing whatever they are doing. That can't go on.
So one last...
I've been very clear about this from day one. Mumbai attacks perpetrators who have been traced to Pakistan without a doubt should have been punished a long time ago. And the same thing goes for this attack and for the other attacks. But yes, Pakistan government and Pakistan establishment needs to leash those elements, you know, those so-called non-state actors. They need to put them behind bars.
Can I ask you one last question, Mayor, before you have to leave us? One last question, the question of talks themselves. There is a certain perception that only somebody who's got a slightly more harder image, like Nixon was the person who made peace with China. Is there a sense among civil society in Pakistan that if there is one person who could therefore push peace between India and Pakistan, it would be Narendra Modi?
It's very interesting that even though Prime Minister Modi is seen as a hardliner in Pakistan, it has always been the BJP government that makes very tangible and visible efforts to start a peace initiative with Pakistan. And after first the NSA talks, then Ms. Swaraj's visit, and then Prime Minister Modi, I didn't see any negative reaction in Pakistan from anyone, from civil society, from media, except for, of course, a little small portion of our media and politicians. Otherwise, even all the political parties, civil society, everybody was happy because they could see that, you know, this person who they think has this hardline nationalistic attitude vis-a-vis Pakistan has made an effort and come to Pakistan. Now it's up to Pakistan to take it a step forward.